Welcome back to our homestead. I am Ashley, and we are a family of 10 living on 10 acres in northern Alberta on a homestead that we've been building for the past 10 years. In this video, I am going to share a carnivore-ish Easter meal. Our family has been experimenting eating carnivore because we live in a very harsh climate, and we tried carnivore for health reasons and found that we really enjoyed eating this way. And we have also realized that this is a diet that we can produce in our environment. So, that being said, let me just move on to some of the dishes that we made for Easter. We really enjoy holidays and we really enjoy cooking. This is our first holiday meal eating carnivore, and we wanted to try to stay carnivore. So, we are starting with some carnivore deviled eggs, and we're making a mayo. My two oldest daughters actually did this part of the video. They filmed this and they made this carnivore butter mayo. This is not our recipe. I actually cannot remember the name of the woman who I found this recipe with, but I will put a link to her video as well as the recipe itself in the description of this video. All in all, this actually turned out really delicious. I did not miss the mayo at all. It poured in a really creamy way, and even when we put it in the refrigerator, because we made this 2 days before the meal, I thought that maybe all of that creaminess would become really hard, and kind of how butter can get whenever it's in the refrigerator. And I thought that it would be maybe hard and chunky, but it actually wasn't. It held up really well. The flavor improved over the course of a couple of days in the refrigerator, and I did not miss regular mayo at all. They were absolutely delicious. The only thing that was not carnivore for these deviled eggs is that my girls really enjoy cooking and they really enjoy using spices when they cook. So I told them that they could just do whatever they wanted as long as it was mainly carnivore. But they did end up adding pepper, some dill, and some paprika. So those things are not carnivore. Oh, and some apple cider vinegar to get that sort of tangy taste that mayo has. The original author of this recipe, she also used Dijon mustard, and I have not been able to find a Dijon mustard that does not have citric acid in it. And from our understanding, citric acid, unless it's otherwise specified, is a derivative of mold. I don't know, maybe someone can correct me on that, and maybe if anyone knows of a mustard that might be okay for carnivore, although I think technically it's a seed, so that's not true carnivore, but sometimes it is nice to have a treat. And you could add a little bit of mustard to these to have that more traditional deviled egg taste. But all in all, they were really delicious. And again, I will leave the recipe to that butter mayo in the description. Something that I have been thinking on doing carnivore would be foods that we can make ahead of time and pack, because our family does markets and we travel, and oftentimes we need to pack our own food because we just don't want to go and eat fast food or kind of convenient foods or processed foods or anything like that. And I actually think that these deviled eggs would make a really easy packable food, or just a food that you could make in bulk on the weekends and then you have in your refrigerator if you need a snack or a quick lunch. You could add it. If you could add a piece of cheese if you do dairy. I know not all carnivores do dairy, but we have left dairy in because it just felt really restrictive eating ground beef and salt water because ground beef is the most affordable meat for us right now. And we missed the dairy portion. So yeah, we decided to leave dairy in. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, this next recipe is not carnivore. It is, I guess you could consider it low carb, although it does have sugar. These are lemon curd pavlova, and I love making pavlova. It's a tradition for me to make it every Easter. This year I debated not making it, and in the end I decided I was just going to go ahead and do it because I love making it. It's a decadent dessert. It looks like it's really complicated. It tastes like it's really complicated, but it's actually really easy. If you are strict carnivore for health reasons, this is probably not going to be a good thing for you because it does have sugar and it does have lemon. If you are interested, though, in a carnivore dessert, we did make a true carnivore birthday cake for our son's 3rd birthday a few weeks ago. And we did make a video of that, and I will put the video to that, the link to that video in the description of this video in case you want to make a carnivore dessert. Anyway, these pavlova are so easy. I'm just whipping up my egg whites here, and I'm slowly adding in my sugar. And what I love about this recipe is that I don't need to use caster sugar or powdered sugar. Other recipes I've tried, the recipe stated that you needed to use those, but these I just tried it with regular, pretty coarse organic sugar, and it did just fine. I whipped that up with a little bit of cornstarch and some lemon juice, and again, the cornstarch would not be considered carnivore, but this was a treat for us. And then you just scoop that out onto a baking sheet and pop that into the oven for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And what I will do is just leave them in my oven, turn the oven off after they have cooked, and just let them dry out in the oven. And they are so crispy and delicious, and they're just perfect for adding some berries to it or some lemon curd. Here's my lovely fluffy egg whites there. This is such a satisfying dessert. I love this. Sorry if you're carnivore and you're like, I will not eat that. I cannot eat that. I completely understand that, because if you are trying to heal something that is really serious, or you are trying to stay in ketosis, this would definitely not be good for you. But I did go ahead and include it in this video. Maybe in the future, as we get more strict, I would just make the carnivore oopsie cake that I mentioned. That is by Kelly Hogan, and again, I'll have a link to that video in the description of this video. Isn't pavlova such a beautiful dessert? I just love that. There is something so satisfying about spreading those whipped egg whites out into these pretty little pavlovas for lemon curd. I just love that. And something else I love about making pavlova is that the egg yolks definitely do not go to waste. That's why I enjoy making lemon curd to go with the pavlova, because after I get that in the oven, I use all of those beautiful egg yolks to make a lemon curd. And I will write this recipe out in the description, because I used all of my egg yolks, but I also added a whole egg, because I have found that adding a whole egg just creates a really nice, thick curd that you could just scoop a huge scoop off, and it just all stays on the spoon, and it's just so decadent and so delicious. And I just create a double boiler with a glass bowl and a saucepan. I did double this recipe, so I'm adding those 2 whole eggs to all of the egg yolks there. And I get all of my ingredients ready ahead of time before I start heating it over the stove. That way I am not cooking any of the egg, because I don't like to strain my lemon curd. It's just an extra step that I don't really always feel like doing. So I get everything ready ahead of time. I've got my lemon juice there. I have my butter cut up and my sugar right there on the counter. And I just add all of that to the egg yolks and stir those constantly until they thicken. Once it thickens, I add my butter, a cube at a time, and I just stir that around until it is all melted and nice and smooth before removing from the heat. This is also a great dessert to make the night before, because the flavor improves. So I will make my pavlova a couple of days before Easter, and then once it is completely cooled in the oven, I will place that into some Ziploc bags, close them tight, and then just put them somewhere that's kind of cool and not humid, because it's really important for pavlova to not be in a humid environment. That's what helps to keep its crunch. And then I just, of course, have my lemon curd that I showed there, and I just put into my glass jars. and I put that into my refrigerator, and then that's all ready. And the only thing I did on Easter Day was make some whipped cream with a little bit of organic sugar to put on top of the Pavlova, and it was so delicious. Okay, so for this last recipe, we made meatballs, and we just took these, I think they're just called squeaker cheeses. I actually can't remember if that's what they're called or if that's just what we call them from Costco, and blended those up in the blender so that they would incorporate well into some ground beef. And we just added some salt and we experimented. We did one batch that was just ground beef and cheese and salt. And those held up really well and baked really well, and they still held their shape. And then we did a second batch where we added, I think, 4 or 5 eggs, and those did great too. So we just wanted to see if adding eggs made a huge difference, and we didn't think that it really did. So you could add eggs, or you could just you could even just do it with ground beef and salt if you are carnivore and you don't eat dairy. And these turned out really great. They were really convenient to make a bunch of them and then have out on the table for our Easter family supper. And regarding make ahead carnivore meals, we are finding meatballs to be a really great one because we can make a bunch of these, and then we have those in the refrigerator to bring out for lunches, and we just eat them cold. They're really delicious. And then here's the pavlova on Easter Day, and I just whipped up some whipping cream for them, and we added the lemon curd to those, and they were such a lovely dessert. It was a lovely splurge, I think, although I kind of think we're all kind of still recovering because we had gone quite a few weeks without any sugar at all. So suddenly jumping in and having this dessert, it was pretty crazy how we had become accustomed to not eating sugar. And that was our Easter meal. It was really simple. Geoff's family brought some carnivore meat dishes as well. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the video and maybe got some good ideas. And thanks for watching.